Alright everybody, doing a little movie review here on a movie that just came out on video on demand this weekend called Frankenstein's Army. You can get it on most video on demand services for $6.99 right now. And it has a lot of hype. I've heard a lot about it, and the title alone gets me into this movie, so that's one of the main reasons. Then I saw a couple of shots of the creatures or the monsters in this movie. Basically, this is a story about a Russian army unit that's going in to check out this secret Nazi camp lab type of thing, and they're being filmed, and it's in color. I want to tell you straight up, it's a found footage film. They use I don't know what kind of camera they really use, but it's supposed to be like an old vintage motion picture camera and then during World War II they did have color. Although very limited use, as you've probably seen on some of the World War II documentary films that are out there. They have some color footage, so that's kind of what's going on here. This guy's he's under the pretense of being doing some publicity, you know, for propaganda purposes back home or whatever for the Russian army, and he's in this unit following them around going through this mission. And they go into this area, this little village, and there's this church that's been kind of gutted and turned into this big laboratory, and they run into insane inventions of the Nazi doctor in there, and he is a Dr. Frankenstein. And yeah, I had high hopes for it, kind of. I knew it was going to be low budget, and kind of knew what I was getting into. There's good things about it, but overall I was not very into it. I gotta admit. Let's start with the positive things about it. I would say by far the top thing in this is the monsters themselves. They are handmade. You can tell they put a lot of care into them. They look really cool. Most of them look really cool. There's a lot of variety in them. They're basically like almost like a cyborg or whatever, an old school cyborg, but they're partially human, and their body's been sewn together, and then they have infused different weapons, and like some of them have big blades on their hands, and some of them, this one has a big clamp on his head that he can grab things with, and you know, so they're pretty cool. There's a lot of variety in the monsters, and that's really good. I don't know that it's strong enough to carry the movie, but at least for a you know, for a pay-per-view, it's not too expensive. A lot of these that come out when they're in the theater still are around 10 or 11 bucks. This one's only 7 bucks. I rented it on Amazon myself. And you know, other positive things, there's good practical effects in this. There's some pretty good gore, and it's not overly heavy on the CGI, although there's some, you know, some CGI effects put into this thing for sure. But a lot of the practicals are really good. There's some good gore scenes, some intestines pulled out, and there's a mind meld where they take a 1/2 Nazi brain and 1/2 communist brain and make it into one brain in this experiment this crazy doctor's doing. That's pretty wild looking. And I'm trying to think if there's any other real positives. Some of the acting's okay. It isn't overly horrible acting. Some better than others. But yeah, the problems with it, mainly the story, it's just, I don't know, I wasn't into it that much. I will say I kind of jumped back through it another time, and I think it'd be better viewed if you go into it, if you do decide to rent this thing, rent it and go into it knowing it's supposed to be absurd, a little bit absurd, kind of a spoof almost. Although spoof's not really the right word, it's just absurd. It's the army is kind of this ragtag bunch of people. Nobody follows orders, really. And, you know, there's one guy that has real long hair for some reason. So it's not meant to be taken seriously at all, I wouldn't think. And, yeah, but the story, even with that considered, I had a really tough time getting through this thing. If it wouldn't have been for waiting for the monsters and stuff, you know, yeah, I probably wouldn't have been into this thing at all. Another thing I really didn't care for about it was the settings that they used to shoot in. I would have been much more happy with if they would have gone into a laboratory that looked like it was from the 40s, but yet it was new looking, like they were walking into this like state-of-the-art facility back then and then running into these creatures. But as it is, it's shot in these, you know, obviously old, decrepit, ancient factory type things. And it looks old, it looks all run down. It looks like if you found something from World War II today and went and walked through it. That's kind of what it looks like. It's real dismal and dark and not in a good way. I mean, it's like dingy looking. And I just did not care for that backdrop at all. I really did not like that. So it bothered me. And then, you know, as a personal rating to this thing, I'll name some other things that might be interesting, but for myself, I'm going to rate it about a 3.5. I really didn't care for it at all. I think it's the main things about this movie. If you're going to get into it, if you're really into subtext and you want to get into the subtext this guy was doing, that would be interesting. If you just want to see the creature designs and all that, and it's worth $7 to you to see it now instead of, you know, wait until it goes to Redbox or something, might be worth a look. You know, any of you people that are, you know, in that artistic style and seeing the creations these people come up with, they are really cool. These monsters are awesome, and I would love to see them in a different kind of a setting, a different movie. But I don't know. For me, about a 3.5. I just can't give it much higher than that for my own personal tastes. But you might find it a little different. So if you're into that kind of a thing, I wanted to mention one other scene early on in the thing. They're kind of closing in on this area, and the cameraman finds this dead body. Well, they start seeing these weird bodies with modifications on them and stuff, and he rolls this thing over, and he's kind of looking like he's gonna try and raid, you know, kind of see what it's got on it, the body, if there's anything valuable he could take. And then the thing, it gives him a jump scare. It has like some wiring that, you know, it's not alive, but some of the wiring lights up for a second and it kind of jumps. And it's kind of a cool jump. There's a couple good jumps in this movie, I'd say. But that's about all the good I could say about it. I wouldn't say I'd never watch it again. It's not that bad where I just hate it or anything. I would probably be tempted just to fast forward into it though and check out those monsters and the cool parts of this movie and some of the practicals later on. But anyway, that's my review of Frankenstein's Army. You can get it on any video on demand. Like I say, it's $6.99 rental, whether you go HD or not, because it's not HD. So, but you know, if you liked it, man, put in some comments. I'd like to hear what you liked about it, and if you didn't, what you agree with me, put some comments, man. I'd appreciate it. But we'll talk to you soon. See you later.